Jeremy Grant, the forward from the Portland Trailblazers, is apparently on the trade block, and the Portland Trailblazers are looking to trade Jeremy Grant before the beginning of training camp. Should the Miami Heat try to acquire Jeremy Grant from the Portland Trailblazers? We'll find out in today's episode. Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. We're pushing to 2,000 subscribers, so if you guys do enjoy my content, please subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to me. So it's time to pod, y'all. So a new report just came out today stating that the Portland Trailblazers are looking to trade both Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant this summer. The goal is to trade both of them by training camp, which is in a few months for the NBA season. And most likely, the Trailblazers are looking to trade Anthony Simons first because they have young guards that they're looking to develop. They have Scoot Henderson, they have Shaden Sharp. Anthony Simons, good player, averaged like 22 points per game last season, but he's 25 years old and they have a crowded backcourt. So it looks like they're going to be trading him first because they don't really have any great wing players or any young developing wing players. So Jeremy Grant is their de facto veteran, star player on this team, but it doesn't make sense to have him because of his contract. They gave him a 5-year, $160 million contract, and he has 4 more years left on his contract. He's 30 years old. So they're a rebuilding, tanking team, and I'm assuming they want to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes next season. So they want to suck. So they want to get him off the books. One, to create more cap space and to potentially get some young assets and draft capital for him. And that way they could also just be worse because, again, Jeremy Grant is a good player and they could essentially lose more if they get rid of him and also get rid of Simon so they could develop Scoot and Shaden. So for this video, though, I want to talk about Jeremy Grant. The Miami Heat have been linked to Jeremy Grant. The Miami Heat like Jeremy Grant, and he would definitely fit in with the way Eric Spoelstra likes to manage and operate and run his team. And so my question is, should the Miami Heat go after Jeremy Grant? And I guess my answer is yes and no. But we can unpack that, of course, and discuss why he could be a good fit, or why he may not be a good fit. And I don't really want to talk necessarily about how we can acquire him, like who we have to, definitively trade in order to get him or what the circumstances may have to be in order to acquire him. I just want to talk about him potentially being a fit on this roster and making this Miami Heat team, more competitive. Like he's not a superstar and I don't think he's even been an all-star, but he is a very good player that can definitely help out this Miami Heat team this next season, which most likely is going to be, Jimmy Butler's last chance to compete with this Miami Heat team. I mean, this is essentially the last year in the Jimmy Butler build. Like, I don't know if he's going to opt into his player option after next season. It really depends on if he's injured or not next season, or if he plays really well, he might opt out, test free agency to see if he can get a big contract from someone else or the Miami Heat. I don't know what direction they want to go in. If they want to offer Jimmy an extension, I know they didn't want to this offseason. They wanted him to prove that he could be healthy and available and help this Miami Heat team compete. So I have no clue what's going to happen. Miami Heat right now are in a blended build, and I don't know. We're obviously adding in young guys like Kalel Ware. Nikola Jovic is going to be playing in his third season, and he's developing and growing. We have Jaime Jaquez, who had a really good rookie year. He's going to be coming into his sophomore season. And then we have, obviously, Tyler Hero, still only 24. Bam, who's our franchise cornerstone. He's only 27. And then, of course, we have the undrafted guys like Keyshawn Johnson, Josh Christopher, and Isaiah Stevens. These guys are really young as well. So, yeah, the Miami Heat can go in any direction. And if they want to stay competitive in the East, they have to make some sort of move. And that can only happen via trade. We know free agency has been really slow for them. They only were able to add Alec Burks because we're a first apron team. We have 14 folks on standard contracts right now, we have one roster spot, but we can't end anybody because we're 2 million or so away from the second apron. And so the Miami Heat are not going to sign any other player to a contract because we don't want to get into the second apron. But what the Miami Heat could do, and what they've been trying to do, is make a trade. And we've missed out on certain players because we haven't had the assets. There's rumors, and we've been making videos, this offseason around Zach Levine, hypothetically, who's on the trade block, Brandon Ingram, who's on the trade block, Lowry Markkinen, who we thought was on the trade block. Um, we've been linked to these players, but it doesn't really make sense with those players because Zach Levine, even though he's a good player, good scorer, could help this Miami Heat team. He has a really bad contract, but he has a really big injury history. Same with Brandon Ingram. He is on an expiring contract, which is good, but he wants $208 million max. He is not worth 50 million. He is also someone who is injury prone. Um, even though he is young still, he's 26, 27, same age as Bam. But Jeremy Grant, so going back to him, could be a potential trade candidate, even though I don't love his contract. Again, he's going to be making 130 million over the next 4 years or so, um, which is not a lot more than Tyler Hero is making. But let's talk about Jeremy Grant though, and see how he can, help this Miami Heat squad with the roster as is. So Jeremy Grant, 6'8". He's really lengthy, has a wingspan of 7'3". We know he's a versatile forward. He could help score. He's a really good defender. He's still pretty athletic. He's 30 years old, but he was very athletic early on. But he could be this missing piece, like I've mentioned, to help this Miami Heat next season, if the Miami Heat are willing to, trade for him. So first, let's talk about the offense. So we know the Miami Heat have struggled with scoring. They were 27th in points per game last season. So third worst team in the NBA, only averaged like 109 points per game. So he is someone who can create his own shot. He's really dynamic offensively. He averaged 20.5 points per game last season while shooting 47% from the field. But also, here's the big one: he shot 40% from three on 5 attempts. Also shot 80% from the free throw line. So that is huge. He's not the best rebounder for someone who's 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan. Like, that's a big knock on him. He averaged only 3.5 rebounds last season, which is point is really good. That's something the Miami Heat needs, is someone who could score, but also, more importantly, someone who can defend. So we've had guys on our team in the regular season like Haywood Highsmith, Caleb Martin in those spots that would be, a 3 to 4, either the small forward or power forward, that weren't capable of scoring 20 plus points in the regular season. And so that can help the Miami Heat. Again, he has the ability to score from all three levels. He could drive to the basket. He's a high flyer. He does have a little mid-range game, and of course, again, he shot 40% from three, so he could shoot three pointers, and he'd be a reliable scoring option next to Jimmy and Bam. Also, what's great is, again, he could play both forward positions. He could play small forward, or he could play power forward. And so Coach Spo loves the flexibility with these small ball lineups. And so you can imagine Grant spacing the floor next to Jimmy and Bam, while Bam and Jimmy both play make, drive to the basket. They can kick it out to Jeremy Grant for threes. Or again, Bam above the break can, find a cutting Grant, who is a good off-ball player. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. So he can, play make and facilitate to Grant, which will be huge as well. So again, defense. Let's go back to the defense real quick too. So he is known for being a gritty, hard-nosed defender, on-ball defender, good rotational defender. He has averaged 1.1 blocks and 1 steal per game 2 seasons ago. So he's showing that he has the ability to guard multiple positions. That's something that Eric Spoelstra loves. His length and athleticism are going to make him a really big presence, both on the perimeter and in the paint, so he can help with point of attack. Again, Jimmy Butler, good point of attack defender, but he's only getting older and slowing down defensively, but he's still a good defender. But Grant is only 30 years old. Jimmy's going to be 35 this season. So imagine, I don't know again who the Miami Heat would have to trade for. We could talk about that later. Again, I don't know what Portland necessarily wants. I think there's rumors that they want 2 first round picks. Miami Heat don't have 2 first round picks. We only have 1 tradable pick right now in 2030. But if the Miami Heat this upcoming season does not make the playoffs, their pick is lottery picked protected. So if they finish outside of the playoffs, their pick is protected 1 through 14. So if Jeremy Grant is not traded this offseason, the report also said there's no way he's going to be on this team next summer. And so they're asking for 2 picks, which like is not horrible, but yeah, I don't know if the Miami Heat are going to be willing to do that. We'll see, because I don't know. We already know. I haven't even got into the whole Dro Cronin and our front offices like obviously probably hating each other and not having conversations during the Dame Lillard sweepstakes last season, where Joe Cronin effectively screwed over the Miami Heat. We don't know again the conversations that I know they had like 1 conversation, it seems like, or 2 last season, but again, Pat Riley apparently lowballed Joe Cronin. He got pissed, never picked up the phone again. So he was being petty also, I guess, towards Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard upset that, their franchise player requested a trade after signing a big extension. So who knows if our front offices are even willing to have a conversation, so that's a whole nother story. But again, just going back to his fit with this team, I think he is someone that fits the Miami Heat culture. He again prides himself on his work ethic, his defensive capability. He's a team first type of guy. So I think again he could be a good fit. Will this help the Miami Heat win a championship? I don't necessarily know, but adding a player like him would be equivalent to a certain degree, like the Celtics adding like a Derek White type of player. A guy, he is kind of like a Derek White, but I think a little bit better offensively. Someone who, again, two-way player, super gritty, will do all of the dirty work and do everything that's asked. And again, will help you on both sides of the floor. I think it's super intriguing. Again, I don't think it's likely because I don't know if Joe Cronin and Pat Riley are going to have a conversation or if Portland's willing to do business with the Miami Heat, or I don't even know if the Miami Heat are willing to trade 2 draft picks for a Jeremy Stevens and continue on the path of trying to, contend while we still have Jimmy Butler. Or I don't know if the Miami Heat are going to go into a different direction where they're going to assume or think that Jimmy might, opt out and become a free agent and go somewhere else. And if that's the case, we hand the reins over to Bam. And then we have a lot of cap space because Jimmy Butler would be making $52 million in 2025, that 2026 season with that player option. So if that comes off the books, then the Miami Heat can focus on a De'Aaron Fox or someone like that in the 2026 season when they become free agents, and you get someone who's younger than Jeremy Grant. And it's probably going to be a better option, honestly, to find a guard that you can pair with Bam Adebayo versus having a wing player who's making that much money, who's not going to be a star. So yeah, I don't know. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't know if it would be a good fit. I can go either way. I like Jeremy Grant. I know the Miami Heat can only improve through trades this offseason. So this could be an avenue. It could be interesting. So let me know what you guys think about adding Jeremy Grant to the Miami Heat this off season, as the reports state that the Trailblazers are going to be looking to trade him and Anthony Simons before training camp. So let me know what you guys think in the comments if you're willing to trade for him. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.